No one expected the accusation to come that morning, and no one expected it to shatter the calm of the mansion the way it did. If you believe truth always wins immediately, stay with this story, because sometimes lies speak first. And if you don't want to miss how this ends, this is one of those stories you should follow closely. Sunlight spilled through the tall glass windows of the Okori mansion, bouncing off marble floors polished to perfection. Everything in that house looked untouched by struggle. Everything except Zuri. She adjusted the sleeves of her simple cream dress as she walked down the hallway. 8 months in that mansion, and she still moved carefully, like someone afraid to take up too much space. Then the voice came. "Where is it? I placed it right here." The panic in Aunt Belinda's tone sliced through the quiet. Zuri stopped. The bedroom door flew open and Belinda stormed out, silk robe trailing behind her. Her eyes scanned the house, sharp and accusing. "The emerald necklace is gone," Belinda announced loudly. The house froze. Servants stopped moving. Conversations vanished. Even the walls seemed to listen. Zuri's chest tightened. Belinda's eyes landed on her immediately. "You," she said without hesitation, "you were cleaning my room yesterday." Zuri nodded calmly. "Yes, ma'am. In the afternoon." Belinda stepped closer, lowering her voice, not with kindness, but control. "That necklace belonged to my late mother," she said. "It doesn't just disappear." Family members gathered, cousins, uncles, staff. Whispers spread quickly. Zuri clasped her hands together. "I didn't take it," she said softly. Belinda laughed once, cold, dismissive. "Of course you didn't." The familiar weight settled on Zuri's shoulders, the weight of being poor in a rich house. Belinda turned to everyone. "Lock the doors. No one leaves until we find it." Zuri's heart sank, because in that house, truth was often optional. By midday, the mansion felt like a courtroom without justice. Zuri sat near the dining hall, her back straight, her face composed. Inside, her heart pounded, but she refused to show it. She had learned early in life that tears only gave power to people who wanted to break you. Belinda paced back and forth. "Let's be honest," she said. "We all know who here would benefit from stealing jewelry." No one said Zuri's name. They didn't need to. Some looked at the floor. Others watched her quietly. A few avoided her eyes entirely. Zuri stood up slowly. "I understand why you're upset," she said, "but I didn't take anything." Belinda scoffed. "You live here for free. You wear simple clothes, and suddenly my emerald necklace vanishes?" Zuri felt the insult but didn't react. "Poverty is not a crime," she replied calmly. That made Belinda smile, but not kindly. "Search her room," Belinda ordered. The words echoed. Zuri's fingers curled slightly, then relaxed. "You're allowed," she said. "I have nothing to hide." The room grew tense. They walked toward the servant quarters, Belinda leading, confidence dripping from every step. Zuri followed behind them, heart heavy but head high. Zuri's room was small, neat, almost empty. A bed, a chair, a folded blanket, a single photo frame by the window. Belinda searched aggressively, pulling drawers open, checking under the bed, lifting the mattress. Nothing. Her smile faded slightly. "Check the bag," Belinda said. Zuri handed over her worn handbag without hesitation. Belinda emptied it on the bed. Lip balm, old phone, notebook, keys. No emerald necklace. The room grew quiet. Belinda straightened up, irritated. "You're clever," she said. "You must have hidden it elsewhere." Zuri net her eyes. "If I took it, you would have found it." Some family members exchanged glances. Doubt crept in. Belinda felt it and hated it. "Then where is it?" she snapped. Zuri said nothing. She had learned that defending yourself endlessly only fed false accusations. Belinda turned sharply. "Bring the house manager." Minutes later, Mr. Adewale arrived. "There are cameras," he said carefully, "in the hallways." Belinda paused. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across her face. Belinda waved her hand dismissively. "There's no need for that." The words landed wrong. Zuri looked up slowly. "Why not?" she asked quietly. Belinda's eyes snapped toward her. "Are you telling us how to run our house now?" Zuri shook her head. "I'm saying the truth will be clear." The silence that followed was heavy. Mr. Adewale cleared his throat. "If nothing was found, reviewing the footage might help." Belinda hesitated. Too long. Others noticed. Cousin Daniel frowned. "If you're sure she took it, the cameras will confirm it." Belinda forced a smile. "Fine," she said. "Let's check." Zuri felt her heartbeat steady. For the first time since morning, hope slipped in quietly. They gathered in the security room. The screen flickered to life. Footage rolled back to the previous afternoon. Zuri appeared on screen, cleaning carefully, dusting shelves, straightening pillows. She opened no drawers, touched no jewelry. Belinda crossed her arms. The footage continued. Then Belinda herself appeared. She entered the room later that evening. She opened the jewelry drawer. She removed the emerald necklace. She paused. She looked around and slipped it into her handbag. The room went silent. No breathing, no whispers, just truth playing on repeat. Zuri stared at the screen, her face calm, but her heart heavy. Belinda's lips trembled. Someone finally spoke. "Aunt Belinda, why?" And for the first time, the accusation had nowhere left to hide. The security room stayed frozen in time. No one moved. No one spoke. The screen continued playing the same moment over and over. Belinda opening the drawer, lifting the emerald necklace, slipping it into her handbag like it meant nothing. Zuri didn't smile. She didn't gasp. She didn't say a single word. She simply lowered her eyes. Belinda stepped back slowly, as if the room itself had betrayed her. Her mouth opened, then closed again. Her confidence, so loud earlier, had disappeared. This doesn't explain anything," Belinda said weakly. Daniel turned toward her. "It explains everything." Belinda shook her head. "You don't understand. I was only keeping it safe." "Safe from whom?" Daniel asked quietly. The question hung heavy in the air. Mr. Adewale paused the footage. "So you accused Zuri," he said carefully, "knowing you had the necklace?" Belinda's voice cracked. "I needed to prove something." Zuri looked up slowly. "Prove what?" she asked. Belinda couldn't answer, because the truth was ugly. They moved back into the living room. Belinda sat down heavily, no longer standing above anyone. For the first time, she looked small in that big house. "She doesn't belong here," Belinda said suddenly, pointing at Zuri. Everyone started treating her like she mattered. Zuri felt the words, but didn't let them touch her face. Belinda continued, her voice shaking now. "She's poor, yet she walks with dignity. People listen to her, respect her, and I—" Belinda stopped herself. "You were afraid," Daniel finished. Belinda laughed bitterly. "Yes, afraid." She looked directly at Zuri. "You remind me of everything I pretend not to be." The room grew quiet again. Zuri spoke softly. "I never tried to take anything from you." Belinda wiped her eyes. "You took attention, and I couldn't stand it." Belinda stood slowly. "I'm sorry," she said. The words sounded heavy, but empty. Everyone looked at Zuri, waiting. Zuri didn't rush to respond. She remembered being accused without evidence, her room searched, her dignity questioned. "I accept that you spoke the words," Zuri said calmly, "but apology doesn't erase humiliation." Belinda lowered her head. "I don't need punishment," Zuri continued. "I need honesty." Belinda nodded weakly. "I lied." Those two words hit harder than shouting ever could. Some family members looked ashamed. Others looked relieved. But Zuri felt tired. That evening, dinner felt different. Zuri wasn't asked to serve. She was invited to sit. It was subtle, but powerful. Daniel poured her water himself. "You handled that with strength," he said. Zuri smiled politely. "Strength grows when you have no choice." Belinda didn't join them. Her door remained closed. For the first time since Zuri arrived at the mansion, people spoke to her without pity or suspicion, but respect. Zuri felt it. Not loudly, quietly. And that was enough. Later that night, Zuri stood by the window in her small room. She looked at her reflection in the glass. She hadn't won anything. She hadn't gained money, power, or status. But she hadn't lost herself. And that mattered more. Somewhere in the mansion, Belinda sat alone with the emerald necklace in her hands, realizing that the thing she tried to protect had cost her something far more valuable: trust. Zuri turned off the light and lay down. Tomorrow would come, and this time she would face it without fear, because the truth had already spoken. Next morning, whispers floated through the Okori mansion like smoke. Belinda's false accusation had spread beyond just Zuri's ears. Some cousins rolled their eyes at her, others avoided her entirely. Even the staff, who had once trembled under her sharp tongue, now exchanged knowing looks when she entered a room. Zuri, meanwhile, moved quietly through the halls, her head held high. No one asked her to explain herself. No one doubted her, except Belinda. At breakfast, Belinda tried to smile, tried to laugh, tried to act as if nothing had happened. But the room's energy had changed. Daniel leaned closer to Zuri. "She's never going to admit it openly," he whispered. "People are already talking." Zuri nodded. She didn't need to reply. The mansion had shifted. Belinda was no longer untouchable. By mid-afternoon, Zuri's calm had become noticeable. Where Belinda once dominated conversations, Zuri now listened, and her words carried weight when she chose to speak. Family members sought her opinion on small matters, from organizing events to minor decisions about the house. Belinda watched from her room, fingers tapping nervously on the armrest of her chair. Every time Zuri passed in the hallway, she felt a sting. The girl she had tried to humiliate now commanded subtle respect without saying a word. Later, Daniel found Zuri in the garden. "You don't fight fire with fire," he said softly. "No, I wait for it to burn itself out," Zuri replied. Belinda's schemes had failed, and Zuri's patience, quiet as it was, began to shape the house in ways no one had expected. Word of Belinda's false accusation began to reach extended family and close friends. A cousin called to confirm rumors, asking why Belinda had accused Zuri. Another mentioned that the CCTV footage had been shown in front of the house staff. Gossip traveled quickly, like wildfire across the city. Belinda tried to defend herself, but her words rang hollow. "I only wanted to protect my inheritance," she told her friends. "Protect?" one asked. "You accused an innocent girl." Zuri remained unaffected. She didn't need to spread stories, didn't need to defend herself. The truth was already speaking, louder than any accusation or lie. By evening, Belinda realized she had lost more than her dignity. She had lost control, and the realization left her restless and alone. Evening fell, painting the mansion in gold and amber. Zuri walked through the hallways, carrying dinner for herself. She paused at the family lounge where cousins gathered. Everyone looked at her, some with admiration, some with cautious respect. She didn't need words. Her presence alone reminded them of the truth. Belinda had tried to shame her, but Zuri's patience and integrity had turned the tables. Later, in her small room, Zuri reflected. She had not sought revenge, had not spread rumors, had not shouted or cried, and yet her silent strength had changed the mansion. Some victories are quiet, Zuri thought. Some battles are won without a single strike. Belinda stood by the balcony that night, the emerald necklace in her hands. She stared at the city lights below, reflecting on the day's events. She had tried to accuse Zuri out of fear and jealousy, but in doing so, she had revealed her own weakness. She had humiliated herself, lost trust, and damaged relationships. Zuri, meanwhile, lay in her bed, calm, at peace. She had faced false accusation and come out with dignity intact. And she knew some lessons cannot be taught through shouting or manipulation. They are learned through patience, silence, and unwavering integrity. Belinda's eyes filled with a quiet regret. Some truths, she realized, are far heavier than any jewel. The mansion had changed, and no one could ignore it. Belinda woke the next morning to an unusual quiet in the mansion. No greetings from staff, no casual whispers in the hall. Even the cousins avoided her glance. It was as if the walls themselves had decided she no longer mattered. She tried to speak to Daniel and other family members. Their eyes met hers politely, but their words were brief, controlled. They treated her as if she had become fragile glass, too dangerous to touch. Meanwhile, Zuri moved freely through the house, collecting morning tea, helping organize minor chores, and answering casual questions. She did it all without arrogance, yet her presence now carried weight. Belinda realized something she had never felt before. Power can be lost in silence. Her attempts to humiliate Zuri had backfired spectacularly. Desperate, Belinda tried again. She approached her friends within the family circle, weaving excuses and half-truths, trying to regain her image as someone who was clever, in control, and feared. But the more she spoke, the more the truth leaked. Everyone remembered the CCTV footage. Everyone had seen Zuri's innocence. Belinda's words sounded small, weak, and desperate. Even the house staff, who had once obeyed her blindly, now avoided her, whispering instead about the day she falsely accused Zuri. By evening, Belinda understood the painful truth. No amount of words could erase the reality captured on screen. Zuri didn't seek revenge. She didn't boast or mock. She simply continued her days with grace and integrity. Gradually, family members began consulting her on household matters: where to place new furniture, how to organize the garden for events, even minor business discussions about property maintenance. Daniel smiled at her one day. "You have a calm strength," he said. "It changes people." Zuri smiled quietly. Strength doesn't need to be loud, it just needs to be steady. By evening, Belinda watched from a distance as Zuri's influence in the household grew. Every nod, every respectful look she received reminded Belinda of her own failure. Finally, Belinda could no longer contain her frustration. She approached Zuri in the garden, the emerald necklace clutched in her hand. "You've humiliated me," she said. "People respect you now. Her voice trembled. "I never imagined you'd—" Zuri raised a calm hand. "You didn't humiliate yourself," she said softly. "You chose that. I simply stayed honest." Belinda's eyes widened. You're not angry?" Zuri shook her head. "Anger never solves what truth can. You'll learn your lessons sooner or later." Belinda realized that no apology, no argument could undo what had already been revealed. She walked away quietly, leaving the emerald necklace on the garden bench, like a symbol of defeat. That night, the mansion was calm but changed forever. Zuri lay in her room, reflecting on the day's events. She hadn't sought revenge, she hadn't flaunted her innocence, yet through patience, dignity, and quiet integrity, she had changed the power dynamics of the house. Belinda, once feared, now sat alone in her room, staring at the emerald necklace. She understood, finally, that envy, lies, and manipulation only led to isolation. The very thing she had tried to control had slipped through her fingers, not by force, but by truth. And the mansion, once filled with fear and judgment, had learned its own lesson. Respect and dignity cannot be faked, and integrity, quiet, unwavering integrity, always wins. The day ended with silence, but it was the kind of silence that spoke volumes.